what happened there, the lessons that we received from knowing how it all went down, I believe sets a precedent for where we are now and what may be coming. And this is concerning. America may well go into a golden age of wealth and power, but the blood of 63 million sacrificed human hearts since 1973 has been spilled into the land, and payment is going to come due. According to a Christian Post article, Franklin Graham predicts that the abortion issue will not necessarily be a significant priority for President Donald Trump in his second administration, but he hopes the president will fulfill his promise to bring the United States into a golden age. The 72-year-old son of the late Billy Graham and CEO of the evangelical aid group Samaritan's Purse surmised that Trump feels as if he has done all that he can to address abortion at the national level by appointing the US Supreme Court justices that ultimately voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. Personally, I think Graham should have said nothing about this, but during his invocation at the inauguration of President Trump, he did say something that caught my attention, which is pertinent and important. Welcome to Morning Tea. Hello, I'm Joanne, Jolee. So glad you're here today. Before I get to my point, for Graham to say that Trump has done all he can do at the federal level regarding abortion is just not right. He's done all he's going to do, and I wish it was more. But scripturally, it's important to remember that the primary litmus test for choosing our leader is peace, so that we can live quiet lives. This is what we're told to pray for. Trump supports freedom to practice religion, and he was clearly the best choice to fulfill this priority for believers. It's not possible to legislate the hearts of people, and the people want their abortions. Actually, abortion is less than a priority in the White House since our First Lady is a supporter of abortion, it seems, without any restriction. As she wrote in her memoir, which was published last year, it's imperative to guarantee that women have autonomy in deciding their preference of having children based upon their own convictions, free from any intervention or pressure from the government. Why should anyone other than the woman herself have the power to determine what she does with her own body? A woman's fundamental right of individual liberty to her own life grants her the authority to terminate her pregnancy if she wishes. Restricting a woman's right to choose whether to terminate an unwanted pregnancy is the same as denying her control over her own body. I have carried this belief with me throughout my entire adult life. Well, then that's that. To my point, Graham put aside the abortion issue and he focused on Trump bringing us to the golden age. And in his invocation, he mentioned Egypt. The prophet Samuel reminded the people it was you that brought them up from the land of Egypt. Now stand still that I may reason with you before the Lord. So we should look to what happened in Egypt, because what happened there, the lessons that we received from knowing how it all went down, I believe sets a precedent for where we are now and what may be coming. And this is concerning. God had commanded the people, "Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. And you must not worship the Lord your God in their way, because in worshiping their gods, they do all kinds of detestable things the Lord hates. They even burn their sons and daughters in the fire as sacrifices to their gods." So Joseph in Egypt, by God's providence, became second in command to the Pharaoh, and he moved his entire family down to Egypt to preserve them through the coming famine. Joseph's leadership skills built a magnificent Egypt with massive wealth, power for the Pharaoh. He took from the people of both Egypt and Canaan their money, because they needed grain to survive. He took their livestock next, then all the land in Egypt, and finally the people came and offered themselves in servitude. And along with that, he also took a 20% tax on future earnings. So through Joseph, Egypt was blessed. The Israelites flourished because Joseph had given them the best of the land. He gave them the property in the best part of the land, the district of Ramses. And it was there that they grew to a nation, and it worked out really well while Joseph was alive, but all of that power ended up in the hands of an oppressor who enslaved the Israelites. A new king to whom Joseph meant nothing came into power in Egypt. And the people disobeyed. Psalms describes what they were doing exactly while they were enjoying the blessings of being under the leadership of their brother Joseph. In the Psalms we read, "When our ancestors were in Egypt, they gave no thought to your miracles. They did not remember your kindnesses, and they rebelled by the sea, the Red Sea." And it goes on, they despised, they grumbled, and then you get down to verse 37, where they sacrificed their sons and daughters to false gods. They shed innocent blood, the blood of their sons and daughters, whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan, and the land was desecrated by their blood. Now, in the record of the kings, where Ahaz becomes king of Judah, he followed the ways of the kings of Israel and even sacrificed his son in the fire, engaging in the detestable practices of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. And then we read on to the next chapter where they sinned against God, they worshipped other gods and idols, they secretly did things, they wouldn't listen, they were stiff-necked, they made for themselves idols shaped like calves and worshipped them. And 17, they sacrificed their sons and daughters in the fire until finally, down in verse 33, the Lord removed them from his presence as he had warned them through all his servants the prophets. So the people of Israel were taken from their homeland into exile in Assyria. The sacrificing of the unborn on our altars of idolatry is causing our land to be desecrated. Life is in the blood. The unborn child has blood circulation at 3 weeks gestation. This is before most women even know that they're pregnant. And I would say that almost all, if not all, abortions stop the lifeblood flow. For the life of a creature is in the blood. Life is the blood. The blood of Abel cried out to God from the ground. Cain was punished for spilling the blood of his brother Abel, and God put a curse on Cain. America may well go into a golden age of wealth and power, but the blood of 63 million sacrificed human hearts since 1973 has been spilled into the land, and payment is going to come due. We know that whatever was written in the former days was written for our instruction, and that judgment begins in the house of God. So for us, for believers, did you know that in a report from 2021, 43% of women who had had an abortion attended church? And there was another report from the CDC, this is the National Survey of Family Growth. It found that 1 in 10 evangelical women who attend church at least weekly have had an abortion. The most recent reports show that since Roe versus Wade was overturned, the abortion rate has increased. Judgment begins in the house of God. I think perhaps this last year we saw some of this starting with so many corrupt ministries and church leaders being exposed. And abortion in the church, like Paul said, this should not be so. The seed for this is rooted in sexual immorality, for which the New Testament puts as a most important directive. And those living immorally while claiming to follow Christ must be put out. And if the church would enforce this command, they would judge properly so that we don't bring judgment upon ourselves. If we will do this, a host of problems will just go away. The reports on these statistics, they talk about how single women going to church who become pregnant don't want to talk about it. They hide it because they feel judged. They suggest there needs to be more compassion and care, but I don't think so. They feel judged because they are. They know they've been living in a state of sexual immorality that Paul said was of utmost importance that it gets stamped out. There can't be care and compassion in the toleration of a sinful lifestyle. And they're put out of fellowship for their soul, for them, for love, so that they can repent. Then, after that, there is support for the mother, for the child. There's care, there's compassion. And this goes for every one of us. None of us gets away guilt-free. We have to keep our accounts short by constantly repenting. When we do that, when we repent, it's over. God forgives, he forgets. We do the same for each other, and then we have to forgive ourselves. So I really want to encourage you to reflect on where you are in your faith journey with Christ. And I have a free spiritual reset guidebook right here. This is all that you need to get yourself back on track. It's the biblical path to deepening your relationship with God and having a victorious faith journey. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and I want to remind you to look for the blessings. They're all around you. Bye-bye.